Man, if you want to just come clean, you just amend your tax return, put it on your tax return, and really, of course, I'm an accountant. I'm going to take the side of doing it the right way, right? You should be on your toes and amend the return. You should not wait for the IRS to come to you. If you wait for the IRS to come to you, I always say you're on your heels at that point. Now they're looking at you. They're looking at you, man. They potentially even have someone assigned to you at that point. Like you're really on your heels. So if you get ahead of it, you amend your return before they come to you, at least you understand what you owe. And then B, you don't have to have that like monkey hanging over, on top of you, carrying that thing around.
Yo, what up, guys? Welcome back to the show. Today we have on Anthony Fontana with EA Tax Resolutions. Anthony, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here, Juan.
Doing good? Okay, great. Well, I'm glad you joined the show. You really should have been on my previous show, CPA Primetime, where we could have talked a lot more about accounting. But, I'm always fascinated with how business owners view the accounting industry. So why don't you talk a little bit about what it is that you do exactly? You're an EA, an enrolled agent. What do you do for people out there? What do you do for businesses?
Definitely. Well, thanks again for having me on here. Man, I'm an enrolled agent. I'm also a CPA. So
awesome.
Just putting that out there. If you didn't know,
let's go CPA. Love
it. Man, I'm a tax accountant. So what do? I prepare tax returns, businesses, individuals. We also do bookkeeping here. I personally don't do it, but it's actually my wife. She's also a CPA. She does books for a lot of our small business clients. And then what we also do in the off season, like now, I help a lot of people with tax issues, i.e., they get some scary notices in the mail regarding some big balances that they may have, and they reach out to me to help them out, kind of getting them out of sticky situations. So that's what I do, man. I do back tax help, tax prep, and we also do bookkeeping.
Love it. Do you have a specific industry that you like to focus on?
Yeah, the everyday man.
Love it.
No, not really. I mean, in terms of our books, generally we really only help out service industries. We don't really help out people who have selling products. So it's kind of like small businesses that are selling a service. That's what we do for that. But in terms of like tax prep and tax debt relief or help with that, it's the everyday common person, man. I help anybody out with that.
Nice. And when did you decide to go on your own and make your own business out of this?
Yeah. Oh, geez, we got a rabbit hole here.
Let's go. Let's hear all about it.
I used to work for a resolution company back in the day when I was going to college, and working there, I learned a lot about the whole industry. But it was limited, man. And everyone was turning to me for guidance on like all the issues. And I was like, hey, I'm the top dog here. I'm still going to school. I don't know why I'm the top dog here. Right? Yeah. I need to be learning myself. But so from there, I went to try and pursue a CPA. I actually got a job at the California Franchise Tax Board as a tax auditor for like multinational C Corps. I did that for about 2 years. I hated that. And that's what led me to do my own business. And I kind of came back to the resolution end of things, but also tax preparation, just because of the demand of tax preparation out there. It was just essentially to get back to your question, why did I start my own business? Because I really thoroughly hated working for the state of California. So I just didn't want to have an employer again. So I just started from the bottom and grinding to get clients. But I started actually with my wife, the business.
That's interesting. And did you ever, from an entrepreneurship perspective, were you always an entrepreneur, or this is something that you didn't really expect to do? It just kind of came along?
I was definitely never an entrepreneur, man. I always, I guess, had the aspirations to have my own business, but I never really like sold anything prior to having this business. And then it was a big learning curve for me at the beginning. From then till now, I've gotten a lot better at it. Still kind of a small little company here, doing taxes. Love
it. And I was looking at your content, and one of the main reasons I invited you and wanted to have you on is because I found your content super interesting. You have some of the content that you have on Instagram, and guys, you can follow his tag right there. It's on the screen. But you're actually showing the results of working with you, from getting people's taxes down, things like that, the before and after from working with you. And I think that's great, a great marketing lesson for a lot of tax accountants out there, for a lot of accounting businesses, even bookkeeping out there, because frankly, business owners don't, the entrepreneurs out there that have nothing to do with accounting, right? They just want their accounting done, and then they want the result of it to look really good. So I thought you did amazing in terms of that. I mean, I've had brands, accounting brands that I've helped in the past, and that's one of the main things that really got them a lot of clients, is being able to communicate the actual value of working with you, right? So with you, I mean, I'm always fascinated with how other business owners look at the accounting industry, right? What would you say are some of the, common misconceptions, specifically business owners or new entrepreneurs have when they, hear that they should take taxes seriously, or even bookkeeping, things of that nature? What are some common misconceptions you would say they have
Yeah,
about the accounting industry?
that's a good question. So I'd say a lot of people think that like bookkeeping is like super easy to do, and it's something that they can just like get done kind of like on the whim at the end of the year before we do tax prep. Like that's, I would say, the biggest issue we have with a lot of clients. And I'm not gonna lie, I mean, bookkeeping is not rocket science. It's not super hard to do. It's just something we have to do. And the thing is, if you're doing it kind of after the fact, in a rush, last minute, before we have to do tax prep, you're missing things, man. And if you're missing things, that means you're paying too much in tax. So that's why like bookkeeping, I think is just like extremely important. I try to communicate that, but it's I don't know, it's difficult to communicate that to people, that, hey, we just need to make sure that we are recording all of our expenses and not missing anything. And then people are like, yeah, I'll get it done. But then I see more often than not, people are shooting from the hip when it comes tax time. And then I'm like, okay, you're shooting from the hip. We all know this tax is not 100% accurate, right?
Yeah.
If we would have done this properly throughout the year, reconcile the bank statements, make sure we're not missing anything, then who knows, maybe you would save a couple $1,000s with tax if you had just done it properly. But yeah, I think that would be like the number one thing.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. They they think it's not important until the end, until year end comes, huh?
Yeah, and everyone procrastinates. I mean, yeah,
Right.
I'm guilty of it as well, to procrastinate here. You're going to wait till the deadline to get everything done, but at that point, you're just rushing, like, I'm just going to get some numbers together, and then they give me like a P&L showing like $1,000 here, 500 there, 1,500 there. I'm like, okay, I know these are not real numbers, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm not even looking close into you. If we audit, I guarantee you, man, I'll get it way worse. We'll be way worse, in a way worse situation here. So
Right.
yeah, it's to get those things accurate, man. Bookkeeping it's massive. It's massive. And then, I always get it where then someone tries to go get a loan for, home, and then the banks are grilling you about your P&L. And then I'm like, well, that's because you didn't do it properly. They're looking at your bank statements. They're looking at your P&L. They're essentially auditing you here. Now things aren't correct. And now you're coming back to me to go back and do this all properly. So it's like, if we would have just done this from the beginning, it probably would have been a lot cheaper for you to hire me to do that.
Right.
Taxes would have been done properly. You would probably already had this loan by now. Like, we wouldn't have had to wait for all this stuff. So books are like the foundation of like your financial perspective when it comes to your self-employment, your business, and highly recommend getting it done correctly right off the bat when you start the business.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, it's a pain to do it yourself. And I have an accounting degree, so like I can't imagine people that don't even want to look at it. Like, what are they doing, right?
Right.
But do you have any good story, not necessarily horror stories, but any good stories you can tell us, to where you've worked with a client, and if they didn't run into you, they would have just been, out of luck? Can you tell us any?
Out of luck? Yeah. That's a great open-ended question there. Man. So I mean, one thing it sounds like maybe you haven't even seen either, though. Like you were alluding to, I'll get back to that question. It will answer that, and I'll get there. The our Instagram, right? We're showing results of like what we're doing here, because like I said, I help a lot of people with like tax debt and relieving that tax debt, and like here's the results of that, and it looks really good. You know, once I get through the whole process, but getting there does take time, right?
Yeah.
I have a YouTube video or YouTube channel that I actually go through in detail everything that number one, that they get from the IRS, the letters, and then everything that we do to kind of rectify the situation, documents that we submit, and then results kind of back from the IRS. And I tell you exactly kind of how to do the whole process yourself. And then back to your question, which was, remind me, I'm so sorry.
Do you have any good stories of, help?
Yeah. So a lot of those YouTube videos, right, will show, man, some of the people what they owed in taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm on a power of attorney for a lot of these clients because I help them deal with the IRS. And so I get letters, the exact same letters that the clients get. And these things really make you truly like thankful for where you're at in your life when you think you have a bad day. And then you see one of these letters come through where it shows the client owes like $500,000 to the IRS. Like, oh, okay, my life's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, they're after their bank accounts. Like, I've had people call me where, they had like 15,000 in their bank account one day. The next day it's all gone because the government levied their account. And, then they're like in panic mode to try and get the money back. And, they call me and, I try and help out with that as well. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like horror stories, that's like generally what it is. It's like these people that owe a lot of money. It's like, I mean, the most I've seen from what I've seen is 1.2 to the IRS, 1.2 million to the IRS. Yeah. And then trying to get that person on a payment plan. Anytime you owe over 250,000 to the IRS, to get on a payment plan is like pulling teeth, man. It's so they do not make it easy. They just want you to pay it, right?
Yeah.
So to get on a payment plan at that point, it's just like it's a nightmare to deal with. But yeah, those big balances, I would say, were like probably those are nightmare stories, man, for sure. Because I can only, I mean, I've never been in a situation personally like that, but I can only imagine what that feels like. And when these people contact me to help me, I generally get like it's crazy. I get like these like 15 to 30 minute, just like laying their whole life out to me.
Yeah.
Of like all these problems, why they're in this situation, all these things are like, I don't need to hear like your divorce and whatever it is. I'm like, I don't need to hear any of that. I just need like the basics, man. And I'll help you with this tax debt. But a lot of times I do get those, and I feel like a therapist at that point. Like, it's okay. I'll help you out. Don't worry. But I get that a lot where, they owe these big balances. And then since they have been kind of hiding this, they're ashamed of like these big balances they owe, and I'm kind of like one of the first people they tell, then they feel like they can tell me their whole life story. And I'm like, yeah. So those are like the nightmare stories, man, owing massive debt to the IRS.
No, and that's super interesting about the, people laying their life out or being ashamed. We've talked about that on this podcast before about how, when you're in the accounting industry, you're looking at their books, right? You are one of the first people they're telling about this, right? Because they're not telling their buddies when they're playing golf, this type of stuff, right? So it's like, it's even worse than going to the dentist for like some of these people. So super interesting stuff, man. And what advice would you give to you? I understand like the people with these huge balances, right? They gotta come to you at some point. What advice would you give to people out there who, they're sort of on the fence about investing in a person like you to look at their situation, like so that it doesn't get too out of hand? Would you say is the right time to contact you? Should they spend the money with you? Should they not? Why don't you break that down for us?
I think what you're alluding to is bookkeeping, right? Is like coming to me for books. This is like a business owner and coming to a guy like me. I mean, everyone's got to file their tax return, whether you do that with a guy like me or do it on TurboTax. And generally, to answer that question for that service, tax prep, right? I mean, if you have a pretty basic situation, you're an employee, you and your wife are an employee, you have one kid, maybe not even any at all. There's no need for a guy like me, right? You can do your stuff on TurboTax. It's pretty straightforward. Make sure you don't miss like your Robinhood account, or, you know, if you have a crypto account out there, don't miss those types of things. When you get a notice from them, that's when you come to a guy like me. But generally speaking, if it's a pretty straightforward tax situation, you're an employee, things like that, you could probably do this yourself on TurboTax. There's nothing for me.
Yeah.
I think, again, what you're alluding to is bookkeeping, right? For a business to come to a bookkeeper to have this done. If you're making money, I think it makes sense to come to a bookkeeper. Unless you're good at doing this yourself. And really, a lot of people, what they'll say is like, I can categorize the expenses, right? Like, oh, I went to the gas station. That's fuel for my vehicle. I went to, you know, a restaurant. That's my meal expense. That's pretty straightforward when it comes to books. The thing that people mess up is like when it comes to, like, let's say a balance sheet item where maybe you put money into the business. Is that it considered income? No, as account, we all know. No, that's a contribution to the business, and that's owner's equity there, right? So getting that done properly, a lot of people mess that stuff up, you know, or they pull money out and they say it's an expense. Like, well, that's not an expense. That's a distribution. That's a balance sheet item. Or maybe they're paying off a loan and they say the loan payment is an expense. Well, we all know as accountants, loan payments are not an expense. It's a balance sheet item, right? It's a liability. So if you're making money, I think it makes sense to hire a bookkeeper as a business owner. If you are an S corporation, you're making over 250 gross, there's no need to not have a bookkeeper. If you don't have a bookkeeper, I think you're doing this all wrong. Because at that point, we need to put a balance sheet on the tax return. And I would say there's no way you're figuring out a balance sheet as not an accountant. Maybe you can. You prove me wrong. I just never seen it. Never seen it done. Never. And I've been doing this for a while now. I've never seen someone be able to pull together a balance sheet that will balance. So if you have over 250 gross as a business, and you're an S corp, you need an accountant. But I think regardless, do you need like a CPA? Maybe not. Maybe you can hire like a local bookkeeper, right? As long as they're responsive. And here's another thing I would say. It takes two to tango to do books, right? A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll come to me and like, well, Anthony's going to handle my books. He's got it. I don't have to do nothing about this. Like, no. Well, yeah. What I know is accounting, right? What you know is your business. So you're the one spending the money. Therefore, you might be having some transactions that I see populate on the bank statements, and I'm not understanding this. So I then need to ask you, what is this? Maybe you wrote a check to Joe Schmo. I'm like, who's Joe Schmo? What is that for? Right? Who is this person? What are we doing? So, and sometimes I'm not getting feedback from clients for that type of stuff. So like, it's not just like you just hand it off to accountant, they'll figure it all out. No, you still have to be involved. They're going to guide you along the path, but you definitely need to be involved. And like I say, it takes two to tango to do books. That's how I always tell people before we start, so they know. If you're making money as a business owner, I think it totally makes sense to hire a bookkeeper.
Awesome. So you mentioned crypto, right? A bit there, and I actually thought of something. I can't believe, you know, I've never asked this question during my time of interviewing people in the accounting industry. But why don't we just, you know, let you answer it just to have it on record here? Because I know there's a lot of people that just made tons of gains with crypto, right? Or maybe they're not in crypto and they've made money in their business, but they've just went years. I'm talking years without filing taxes. And you've probably seen some of this being in the tax resolution business, right? Besides the amount that they'll have to owe in taxes, what are some of the other consequences that these business owners can possibly run into if they just go willy-nilly and don't even file taxes, right? We'll let you answer that.
Yeah, the reason I said that is actually because it's been a pretty common theme that I've been coming across lately, where we call it a CP 2000 notice. Well, the IRS calls it a CP 2000 notice. It's a notice of what we call proposed assessment. So what happens is you get W-2s, you get 1099s. Well, guess who else gets a copy of that? The IRS. If you don't put those on your tax return, right? Well, one of these computer automated audits, i.e. a CP 2000 notice, comes out and says, oh, well, it looks like you missed X, Y, and Z income on your tax return. We're going to say you owe this amount of money. Now, generally, those are wrong because they're not taking into account everything. So, then someone will come to me and I'll come help resurrect the situation. But that's usually, and I've been seeing this a lot for a lot of these crypto exchanges because they are now being required to file these 1099s for the taxpayers, right? And people will miss to put them on the tax return. And then so we'll have to kind of resurrect it that way. And so that's been that's why I've kind of brought that up, is because I've been seeing that a lot lately. Actually, within the past couple of weeks, I've done more than a handful of these things. And man, you can check out, I believe I have a YouTube video on one of these already. Maybe not yet though. The other thing is in terms of is it criminal to not report your, not to file your tax return, right? They say, you go to jail not for not filing your tax or not paying your tax. You go to jail for not filing your tax returns, right? I think what was this the famous case Al Capone, right? That's how I got him. So you go to jail for not filing, not for not paying. So as long as you file your return, I guess you can get out of that criminal element of it. There is actually a criminal element, man. You can't quote me on this one, but I believe it's underreporting 25% of your gross income. So that may lead some of these crypto traders into that, I guess, that category of criminal charges that they could potentially face for omitting that from their returns. But man, if you want to just come clean, you just amend your tax return, put it on your tax return, and really, I mean, of course, I'm an accountant. I'm going to take the side of doing it the right way, right? You should be on your toes and amend the return. You should not wait for the IRS to come to you. If you wait for the IRS to come to you, I always say you're on your heels at that point. Now they're looking at you. They're looking at you, man. They potentially even have someone assigned to you at that point. You're really on your heels. So if you get ahead of it, you amend your return before they come to you, at least you understand what you owe. And then B, you don't have to have that monkey hanging over, on top of you, carrying that thing around behind you. But so what I would, like you said, I think that the question is, what can you expect for not filing these returns? Potentially. I mean, the IRS will come for you, essentially asking for you to file these returns. That's generally what they do. They'll send out a letter asking, oh, looks like you have some income. You should file the returns. If you don't file by XYZ date, they can do what they call a substitute for return. SFR is their acronym, and they'll file the worst return possible and assess taxes and come after you.
You hear that, guys? Go talk to Anthony before you get in trouble. Go talk to Anthony.
There you go.
Kind of speaking of crypto, what are your thoughts now? Just to kind of change pace here. What are your thoughts on the future of money? Right, when I got into the audit space with PricewaterhouseCoopers, I went straight to San Jose, to Silicon Valley, to see what they were doing with crypto over there, right? And that was just when a lot of the bigger venture capitalists just started their crypto funds. This was in 2018, 2017. No one really knew what was going on. Now it's 2023. People have a better grasp, but I don't think people are really using crypto all the time. Just from your what you've seen, or just your opinion alone, what's the future of money, the future of crypto to you? What does that mean?
Man, that's a good question. This is definitely not my space, that's for sure, to kind of comment on this type of stuff. Shoot, if you this is
it doesn't have to be crypto, even inflate, even inflation, right?
Yeah, this is definitely an econ type question. Yeah, I mean, we all see what's going on with the feds, man. The feds are driving the ship here, and it's really all based off them. And they're raising interest rates, but and then on top, I guess the Federal Reserve, but then you also have the federal government, which can't help itself but to spend way too much money, way more than we have, right? We're continually going in debt, and the issue is always raising the debt ceiling, but it's never let's just balance the budget.
Right.
So I think my understanding of this is is that, money supply is just continually going up. Money supply goes up. That means inflation is just, there's no way inflation is going down, even with the interest rates going up right now.
Yeah.
Because again, they're continually spending, continually increasing the money supply. And with that, the value of your dollar is going to go down. Now in compared to what, that's like definitely like where I kind of lose it for sure, the euro, the yen, all the other currencies, and again to like crypto, to gold, right? I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go, but I do, and I have heard from clients, right, that I have Russian clients that we're trying to get out of Russia. And with the whole issue that's going on in Russia, they're trying to pull their money out of Russia. And with the US sanctions on there, they're like stuck. They were stuck with this, but the saving grace was crypto for them. That's how they got their money out. So there is some use to this thing. That's for sure. To get your money out of those types of places where there's, like I said, all the restrictions, I guess, on your government currency. That's where I think crypto, the only way I've seen crypto actually have like a use there is something like that. I mean, we have all heard about, the illicit uses of crypto with like drugs or whatever, what was that major case, the Silk Road, right? Something like that, right? Yeah. So there's that, of course, but I think like legitimate uses, which I think we could all back, is like, someone just trapped in a country that's like a war-torn country that, they're trying to make do and to do the right thing, want to come to a place to better themselves, like the United States. And they're stuck. They can't get their money out. And then all of a sudden, here we go. We got crypto to save the day. And that it was amazing to hear that story actually from a client who's doing this. And he was telling me, a couple of his buddies were doing the same thing. So, I mean, with something like that, you could see the value of crypto definitely increasing, right? And with, the money supply, like the US current, like, US dollar nonstop, continually the supply going up, maybe, crypto has a space in that too, but I'm not quite sure, not exactly sure to comment on that one.
Yeah. No, I just think it's always interesting to ask that question, especially to someone in the financial industry. But yeah, interesting stuff. Crazy stuff. I'm not as involved in crypto anymore. I thought it was going to move a lot faster, but interesting stuff, man. So what, from an entrepreneurship perspective, right? From all my entrepreneurs out there who have either thought or like not wannabe entrepreneurs, but aspiring entrepreneurs who are kind of ready to jump in and start their business, or maybe they just started their business. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in starting your business, and what is some of the advice you can give to entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, good question. I guess whatever little advice I can give here we go. I guess it's what a lot of people say. You just got to jump into it, man. You got to just fly. You got to jump and learn to fly, man. It's sink or swim type of thing. It's never going to be like a guaranteed paycheck. And that's the hard thing about doing your own business, right? Is you go get a job, you're going to get paid XYZ an hour for X amount of hours. There's just going to be this amount of money at the end of the road. Versus you start your own business, you're just like, oh geez, where is my next dollar coming from? The thing is like, you just got to jump and try it though. And then at that point, it's like, it's sink or swim. And, if you have that mentality, you will swim, you will figure it out. You will get that next dollar. But that is, I think, like the biggest, the biggest hurdle to overcome of starting your own business is, where's my next dollar going to come from? Because I talk to my friends all the time about it as well, who have, from what I think, great sales skills, yet they don't have their own business. They're selling for somebody else, and I'm like, I don't understand why you're selling for someone else. You could do this yourself. And he's just like, I just don't know if I can do it. And I'm like, you do it, man. I don't get it. But, and the thing is like, there are so many things that you have to just like figure out as a business owner, right? In terms of not just like, where's the next dollar coming from? Like, do you have a website? How are you collecting that money? Your bank account, accounting, right? Taxes. There's just a lot to think about. And, I don't know if you're thinking about doing it and this is something you're interested in, you just have to just jump into it and start.
Love it. Thanks, Anthony. And is there any announcements that you want to make before we go here? You know, anything that you're working on right now? Any type of, I don't know, special live Q&As you have going on?
Good. Yeah, great. I have a YouTube channel. Like I said, that's generally what I promote. Mostly, it's EA Tax Resolutions is my YouTube channel. On there, I teach a lot about back tax help. So if you've encountered something like that, for sure, my channel would help you out. But we also go over a lot of basic stuff. And last year, I started doing tutorials for TurboTax. So if you're stuck in TurboTax, something like that, check out my channel. I'm probably have a video that can help you out with that. And I just get straight to the point. There's like no BS in my videos. I just like go straight to what is the form? How do we do this? And try in as plain English as possible to explain how this stuff works. I am looking for a YouTube editor to help me out, as I have yet to find a good one. So if you're out there, YouTube editor, hit me up. EATaxResolutions.com is our website. You can reach me through there. We have like a website inquiry, fill out the box, and I could definitely, if you're an editor, you're looking for some work, you think you can help me out, go through there, reach out to me. I would love to hire someone new.
Love it, man. Well, it was great to have you on. Oh, as I said, last episode, we always love when a financial professional is on the show, guys. So Anthony's links are down below. Check out his YouTube channel, check out his Instagram, and feel free to hit him up with any questions. Don't get arrested. File your taxes. Right?
That's right. Thank you so much, Juan.
Of course. Thank you, Anthony.